Welcome to Get Savvy, the podcast for people who want to claim back their time through the power of delegation, productivity, and automation. I'm your host, Tisha, and in this episode, I have a special guest with me, Anesha, who is the creative director at Wild House, our creative department at Strictly Savvy. Welcome, Anesha.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Today, I'm going to be asking Anesha some questions about website SEO and leads. And I know as you're listening, you may not necessarily have the budget to hire a full-time SEO or marketing expert. So don't worry, these are simple things that you can do to make a big difference for your business. So shall we crack into it?
Sounds good.
All right, let's start with the basics because SEO can seem overwhelming to a lot of people. So what actually is it and why is it so important, especially for small businesses?
So SEO is search engine optimization, and it is what Google is looking at to rank your business when people are searching. So it is a range of things. It's very broad and there's a lot you can do to help SEO. And it is very important, especially when you're a smaller business, because you need your website to be performing well so that you can be getting those leads coming in to help you convert them into paying customers.
Mm-hmm. So what are the key elements that you should focus on in order to make sure your website ranks well in search results then?
So one of the big ones is your page content. So you want to make sure you have at least 500 words on each of your website pages. You need to make sure that your content is fresh and it's unique and it's valuable to the reader. You can use ChatGPT. I would recommend you don't just type into ChatGPT and copy paste. You need to use ChatGPT to work alongside you in using your brand voice. When we're doing copy for our clients, we quite often will use ChatGPT to help us with making sure that the content is SEO rich with keywords, but we'll also make sure that we are still incorporating their brand voice, so it's not just ChatGPT talking to their potential audience. Another one that you want to make sure you are doing is optimizing your images. So that is making sure they are a small file size so that your page speed is going to load fast. You're not going to get those people dropping off. And you want to make sure they also have a label. So you don't want to have like Anesha Rustin headshot. You want to expand on that and make sure it's something that's actually potentially a keyword that someone is searching, because Google does crawl through all your images and kind of take note of the names of them. And you also want to have alt tags on those. And alt tags are describing what the image is, so that if somebody is using a reader, like if they're blind and they can't see, the reader will be explaining to them what they're looking at. So you need it to explain, like, a picture of a woman and she's doing this and this is what she's wearing, so that the person can have a mental image of what they're looking at. And another one is mobile optimization. You will find that most of your leads are first coming to your website on mobile. We all have mobiles these days. It's the first thing we are using when we are searching something, and we want to make sure it is going to look great. It's going to have a good size font. The images are going to work. The flow is going to work as well. So yeah, highly recommend making sure that you have looked at your site on mobile, because that's when people are going before they jump onto desktop, and potentially before they even contact you as well.
Those are great tips. With your first point and the 500 words for the pages, now that initially can seem like a lot. Is that actually a lot of copy once it's on a website?
No, it's not. And it is quite easy to get to that 500 if you are thinking about your keywords and you're thinking about the headings. So you're going to have your H1, your H2, and your H3, which are your headings, and those are tags that signal to Google like what's important. And as soon as you incorporate your headings and your subheadings, that's going to start pulling that word count down, and you're going to find it's actually quite easy to have that amount of text on your page. And obviously you're not going to have just like a block of 500 words. You are going to, make sure you've spread it out, added some images in there, so you've got a bit of a flow so the customer can easily read through it.
Awesome. So is that for all pages on the website, the main pages that you want people visiting on the website?
I would recommend to try have it for all pages. There are some where potentially you might have less, like if, for example, we've got a tools page which has a list of all the tools that we use. We have quite a few tools, so we do manage to hit that 500 word count. But if you've got a little page like that where you're just incorporating the icons and you've just got a minimal amount of text, because it's not such an important page on your website, it doesn't matter that much. But I always recommend that you try and hit 500 for as many pages as you can.
What about content within the website? So blogs and articles.
Yes, blogs are very important and articles are important. Google loves fresh content, and it also shows that you have some experience and some expertise in the area. Also, keep in mind if that people are searching things related to your industry, they're asking Google questions. And if you've got a blog post that answers that question, that's going to come up in Google. They're going to click on that and they're going to be on your site. And so making sure you're keeping your content fresh is really important to make sure you are capturing those extra leads.
Mm-hmm. And it's really important with that the way that you're writing those blogs as well is not super robotic, because people are searching those questions, like you say. And so if you answer those questions exactly how people are writing them into Google, then you have a better chance of showing up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about customers that rely on local people actually coming into their shop, not online shoppers? Like, can you explain a little bit about local SEO and what that is?
Yes, yeah. So if you are a shop and you want people to come into your shop, you need to have a Google business profile. I do recommend that for everybody, even if you're not local, even if you service the whole of New Zealand and you're service based. But what happens is Google is reading where that person is. If they're searching, like best cafe near me, best kids wear store near me, it's going to pop up with the map and then your name, and then they can click on that to head to your website or just to see where you are on the map and be like, oh, this is around the corner, let's head there. So that is really important. And again, making sure you've got on your website content throughout the copy, you've got your location named several times so that Google knows where you are and can help push the content to the relevant people.
So it's mainly going to show up on a map when people are searching on Google if there is a Google business profile, but not if it's just on the website that they're in a certain area.
Yes, you can show up on the map even if you don't have Google business profile set up, but it does mean it's not necessarily going to be pulling through reviews and images and your website link. So it's free to have a Google business profile, so there's really no reason why you shouldn't have one.
That's a good tip. All right, so I want to circle back to mobile optimization, mobile SEO that we talked about quickly. So what tips do you have to ensure a website is mobile friendly?
So my top tip would be looking at the spacing. I have seen so many websites that you jump on and the text is overlapping the imagery and it's really hard to read. So jump on your phone and actually have a look at what your website looks like. Check the spacing between the edge of your phone. You don't want it going all the way to the edge because then it's harder to read. But check the font size. Sometimes people keep the same size that they've got on the desktop on their mobile and it's like huge. And then I've also seen the opposite where it's tiny text and hard to read. And make sure that your images also aren't blowing out of proportion. They are scaling down so that you can actually see what the image is and you're not just looking at a tiny pixel of it.
And that also goes for, I know that we're talking about mobile, but that also goes for desktop size, like screen sizes as well, doesn't it? Like if you have a massive iMac screen compared to a laptop screen, say.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And you've also got to think about how your website is going to perform on an iPad or a tablet because everyone has a range of devices these days. So you don't know what they are looking at your site on.
So everything that we've talked about makes sense as to how SEO can help you get traffic, but how does that also help convert that traffic into leads?
Well, before you build a website, it's quite important that you have a fair idea of who your target audience is. when we are doing a website build, we hold a strategy session. So we go quite deep in terms of finding out exactly who the ideal target audience is. And we even come up with some customer personas so that we know exactly who we're speaking to. So making sure that you understand who your target audience is, you have written your copy so that it is speaking towards your target audience. It does mean that you are going to be getting that relevant traffic, which means they are going to be more high quality leads and therefore more likely to convert. As we mentioned, having blogs that answer any questions that your customers have and anything they're Googling, it's going to build confidence in your brand and it'll mark you as the expert. So they are more likely to get in touch with you because they're really building that authority and trust with you. And again, keeping in mind though, it does take multiple touch points for someone to convert. So if they're searching the questions and you're popping up over and over again, you're building that confidence in your brand and they're more likely to buy from you, more likely to get in touch. And this is where digital marketing can also come into play. So if you've got a Facebook pixel and they notice, picks up somebody's come to your website, you can then target them on Facebook and Instagram, popping up with your brands and your ads. So then again, you've got that extra touch point of like, hey, we're here and we can help you and we're the experts, so get in touch.
Perfect. So I wanted to quickly as well ask about tracking and analytics, because it's obviously important to be able to see what you're implementing and if it's actually working. So how can businesses use Google Analytics to understand where their leads are coming from and optimize their SEO efforts?
So firstly, just having Google Analytics, we come across quite a lot of clients who don't even have a Google Analytics account set up. So when I build a website for them, I always make sure I connect it because it is really important for you to know where they're coming from and what they're doing once they come to your site as well. You want to, check what pages they're clicking on, how long are they staying on that page, is it of interest to them, and then where are they falling off so that you can start to make those tweaks to your website to see what is wrong. I also recommend having a Google console search all tied in with it. I love looking at Google Search Console. I geek out on it a bit, but I love seeing what people are searching and how they're finding us or how they're finding our customers. So again, it's giving you that insight into what people are searching to find you. And then you have an idea of what you can tweak on your website to improve it, to get more traffic coming to your site. And when you do make a change to your website, it's never a quick fix. You are looking at potentially 6 weeks to a month to a year before you even see a change in anything. So it's always quite fun. You can kind of have a look and then tweak and then sit back and watch and see what it does to your website before you do anything else.
Are there any other tools out there for tracking SEO performance or improving rankings that you would recommend having a look at?
There are quite a few. You can use tools like Hotjar, which pulls all of it into one little report for you. But if you don't even have the basics, just start with Google Analytics and then you can go from there. We also use a tool called SE Ranking, which gives us a really good breakdown of what the website is doing and how it is performing and all the issues. And we use that for half of the website audits that we do.
So to finish up, what are the top 3 things that you could recommend to someone listening right now that they could do to improve their SEO?
The first one, we clean up your URLs. So Google will rank down your URL if it is a really long URL. If it's got numbers or dates in it, again, it's going to rank it down. So go through, make sure it's keyword focused and it's concise so that Google is actually going to love that URL. My next one would be to update your page titles and your meta descriptions. So those are what your users are seeing in search results, and they need to be compelling as a kind of the window display into your website. You want to make sure you keep your page title under 60 characters and your meta description under 160, and make sure that it's enticing to encourage people to click, as this is what's going to grab your potential visitors' attention. And the last one would be to optimize your images, make sure they're not huge, make sure your page speed is great because people lose interest. I think it was around 3 seconds. If it takes longer than 3 seconds, people are kind of like, oh, this is boring. I'm just going to click out of it and try somewhere else. So optimizing your images is a great way to help your page speed so it's not sitting there loading really large images.
Yeah, we're all very impatient now that we've got smartphones and can access websites in milliseconds.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Anesha, for being my guest today and giving us some insights to the world of SEO. And I am hoping, anyway, to have you back as a guest very soon where we can talk a bit more in depth about some of these things. And as I mentioned earlier, these tips are great if you're starting to look at things yourself. However, we do recommend chatting to an expert to get tailored advice and to see where you're ranking on Google. So if you would like some support or to get one of those website audits done that Anesha mentioned on your website, then you can get in touch with her over at wildhouse.co.nz. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Get Savvy podcast.